Hello and welcome to the Emperor's Tarot, the newest podcast hosted on my channel. Be sure to check all the links in the description down below. But first, let me introduce you to my co-host this week. I have Mope the Somnolent.
Hello.
And joining me as always is Figgy the GM.
Greetings.
Not starting with a greetings, ladies and gentlemen. I am Figgy the GM.
You already did that. Boo. We're off to a good start, aren't we?
Yes. Anyway, guys, this is going to be our bi-weekly podcast that appears on my channel, but first on Patreon. Be sure to check out the links in the description down below, as I said before. Anyway, today's topic is a good one. What is more important, lore or the actual models themselves?
As in on the tabletop.
Mm-hmm. Or the sale of models.
Well, I will put that lore is more important.
I'm definitely going to say tabletop is far more important.
Ooh, disagreement already. I like it.
And I'm indifferent.
No, you're not.
No, I'm more for the sale of models.
There you go. I feel outnumbered already.
Well, I mean, Games Workshop is a role-playing and a modeling company, so their main business is to sell models, and I definitely think that model sales are what dictates the direction of Warhammer, much more so than the story. I think the story is in relation to the models, not the other way around.
Well, I'm actually not so sure, because back in, I actually forget when this was before 8th edition, there was this persistent rumor that the Black Library authors wanted to bring Guilliman back. And if they got their way, that means that the entirety of the hobby bent to their wish.
Well, I think that Games Workshop, if they did give the liberty to the authors, and that is why Guilliman comes back, I think that was more in a response to them wanting to create a evolving storyline, like what some other games have. Specifically, what I'm thinking of when I say that is War Machine. But I think that was more of a sales move. I think, yes, they went in the author's direction, but I think they gave the authors the liberty to do that, assuming that's how it went down, to push sales, because they thought it would be a smart business decision.
I can fully agree with. See?
I mean, if we... go ahead, babe, sorry.
Terribly sorry. In 7th edition, there was then this is released, you can actually look this up. The designer of the rule set for the Wraith Knight, for instance, was told to make the weapons a D weapon regardless and not up the points cost, because they wanted to sell models. Now, granted, that person is no longer working at Games Workshop, but it does set the precedent that the models are more important, the rules are more important than the lore itself. The lore itself has always felt like a justification for this stuff, similar to how Magic the Gathering has a storyline, but nobody really cares about it.
I think Oh, you go ahead.
Oh, in that sense, I will then put forth that a sea change happened during 8th edition, due to the fact that, well, if I'm not mistaken, one of the reasons that the storyline started moving forwards again is because one of the most vocal complaints was that nothing ever happened, which, to be fair, a lot of people complained about nothing, and then, of course, when they did jumpstart the storyline again, people complained about that too. However, I will say that once the new president of the company took over and decided to start, listening to complaints, a lot of things started moving, and I will say that lore probably took a bigger seat at the table than it used to.
I will concede to that. However, I think the new president's response to fans and fan complaints doesn't come from story aspect. I think that still largely comes from the fact that he understands that maybe he should listen to the people who keep his business afloat and respond to them. given, you're right, that probably did make lore much more important, and I'll concede that it has. But I still think that GW's bottom line is to sell us models and books.
That I agree with, because when you talk about this game, you have to look at it from a sales perspective. You can't look at it directly as it's a story. Now, I manage a gaming store in Cobleskill, New York. I'm mostly saying this, you guys know this, but I'm saying this for the viewers. At the store, the stories and everything of the actual stuff that we're selling isn't as important as us trying to push sales. Now, yes, that does sound like we're just trying to push sales and not care about anything, but in reality, we care very deeply about the products that we sell because we want to bring the best products to our consumers as we can. This way we can stay in business. When it comes to Games Workshop, I think they're doing much the same. They started realizing, and I think all of us can agree with this, that their models weren't the best in the world anymore. The heroic scale of 40k started looking silly, and they knew that they needed a big change. Now, one of the things that you can look at to see the future of 40k is actually looking at Age of Sigmar. Age of Sigmar, they blew up the universe and started fresh. They wanted to see if that would work. And then that same thing was applied to 40k, though most people just kind of missed it, which is the Cicatrix Maledictum Gorksgrin that tore the universe.
Cicatrix Maledictum.
The thing that tore the universe in half, Gorksgrin. Anyway, that was the big push. That was the big explosion for making new product and everything. See, the Imperium in the story is at a stagnant point, or was. They needed something big to come back in order to push it into the future. And why not bring the most popular Legion, most popular chapter, the one that's played the most, the Ultramarines, give them a Primarch. Now they can advance into the future and sell more models. The Primaris Marines are a prime example of this. They are beautiful models that look in every way better than their counterparts. They are not in heroic scale, they're in a 32 scale. They look more appropriate. Their chests are a little bit big, but I digress. The models actually are standing upright and standing proud and strong, and they're applying this to all of their new models. And then they're creating lore to go along with it and push them into the future, while giving the lore writers freedoms to actually explore new and different topics. This allows the company to constantly sell new models every 3 months, which is perfect for a business that has shareholders, and to advance the game's story in a sense.
Though, funnily enough, the fact that you mention the story aspect pushing the Primaris Marines here, I will point out that the Imperium had this gigantic new storyline started through the Gathering Storm with Call and Gilliman doing their thing on Mars and pumping up Primaris Marines. And then when Shadowspear comes out, actually it is out, right?
Yes, it is.
Mm-hmm.
Right. At the time of this recording, it is out. And they simply made Chaos Marines about the size of Primaris Marines. So, well, they didn't need any grand storyline to do it. They just did.
Well, yeah, that goes to push forth for my idea that the story isn't as important.
Well, that's the whole thing. With Loyalist players, you have a lot of people who are more fixated on the story, I feel like, than Chaos players. I think Chaos players, speaking as one, we have a lot less trouble looking at everything objectively. We get it. We understand it. We see it from all angles because we're multidimensional. And, like, we just accept it. Like, you give us larger Chaos Marines, cool. You don't need a story to explain it to us. We get it from an outside perspective. You're just giving us better models.
And in my perspective, they could have easily done this with the Primaris. They could have done this with normal Space Marines without introducing Primaris ever, and just remade the models. But the fact that 8th edition came out changed everything. Well, it changed the game quite heavily. And then you also would have to accept brand new Space Marines, which just happened to be bigger than everything else, I can see why they decided a big story push at the front.
It was definitely a bit of caution, and I can't blame them for it. But now
It's,
that the waters have been tested, I feel they're a lot more secure with it, and that's why another reason they didn't do it for Chaos.
Yeah, probably. Then again, Chaos players just accept cooler models. They really do.
Well, one of the big things on the tabletop is that the Primaris Marines and the Tactical Marines, the two squads versing each other, the Primaris Marines, for the most part, don't have any options. All of their units change their option based on the things that you buy for them. The assault rifle, the sniper rifle, and the regular rifle. For instance, the Sergeant can actually get a range of war gear now. But with Tactical Marines, like if they just sized up the Tactical Marines to Primaris Space Marines, which I kind of think that they could have done, but if they did that and lost all of their options, imagine how angry everybody would be.
That's so true.
So,
indeed.
The introduction of the Primaris Space Marines honestly is really good because it's a ridiculously simple army to run. Hey, these are Hellblasters. They shoot plasma. These are Intercessors. They shoot bolt rifles.
Yes, they shoot bolt rifles, not bolt rounds.
They fire their bolt rifles.
Yes.
Anyway, but it's one of those things where it's very easy to just create the two units. And I think it's obvious that they're phasing out the older Marines.
That's the thing, though. Here comes a lovely little fact, where I would like to think that,
Can I explain my point real quick before you go on?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Now, when I say that they're phasing out the old Marines, I mean strictly the Tactical Marine box. Strictly that box. And only that box. But the Blood Angel Tactical Marines will still be there. The Dark Angel Veterans will still be there. The Space Wolf Bloodclaws will still be there. I am strictly talking about the Tactical Marine box. Because the Primaris Marines are the future of the Space Marines. In fact, the Warhammer Heroes are selling better than Tactical Marine boxes. So they now know that they can charge $4 a mini for a Tactical Marine and people will buy it. It's a genius move on GW's part, and they tested the waters in Japan with that.
Have they brought those over yet?
Yes, we sell them in our store.
Oh yeah, but they have you're a season behind?
Mm-hmm. We're not on the Blood Angels yet.
All right.
What that makes me think of is the fact that you're right. It's a little bit harder to phase out the entire Loyalist line or give them just an upgrade like that because you have so many different kits for so many different chapters.
Mm-hmm. Well, I had this pointed out to me the other day that Space Marines are extremely rare. Like, in the lore, Space Marines are extremely rare. There's only 1 million of them. Actually, there's 1,200,000 now, but I digress. But when you count in that there's 1 million planets, and each planet has billions of population, Space Marines are extremely rare, yet they make up, I think, 40% of the sales line.
Well, I mean, Warhammer has always been a setting focused on Space Marines. From the very beginning, I still think they do it in 8th edition, where the fluff is generally told from you from the perspective of a Space Marine captain or an equivalent author.
Yeah, it usually does come from the Imperium's perspective.
Unless, you read Aaron Dembski-Bowden, who is Bay.
Well, yeah, that's because he's the best person ever made.
That is true. Although, I should probably get back to that point that I was about to make and almost forgot. So, here is where I would like to make a prediction. Hear me now, quote me later. I'm sure a lot of people have heard the speculation and sometimes wish listing about the Primaris Civil War. So, this is a fairly die-hard meme that refuses to go away. And I actually would like to see a I would like to see the real life models inform the fluff. What do I mean by that? I mean, I would like to read in, let's say, another 500 years' time of 40K timeline. Let's say that it's M42, 500.M42, which I think the new millennium rolled over in Indomitus Crusade.
I believe so, because they advanced the storyline by 250 years, yet all human characters are still alive.
Details. So, I mean, Rejuvenate is a thing, so let's not forget.
Cyborgs, doesn't matter anymore. It's 40.
How old does that make Commander Dante now?
Dante
1,200 years old?
No, Dante walked with Sanguinius.
Yeah, he is.
No, he's not that old.
No, he's getting close to 2,000 though.
You're thinking of Bjorn, right? He walked with Russ.
Yes, I am. Sorry, my bad.
Right. Okay, so I would like, in future, as in both our future and the 40K future, I would like to read about a normal Space Marine, i.e. not a Primaris, who is bemoaning the fact that they're no longer making non-Primaris Marines, and his kind are slowly being quote-unquote phased out, much like the model line.
I actually think there's going to be an inverse in that. I remember it was you, Alexis, and I can't remember the source for it, but there was, I believe, a short story where someone described the Primaris Marines as reminding him of the Thunder Warriors. The Thunder Warriors got wiped out, but to continue on that, I think the way they're going to do it, if they do have a Primaris Civil War, I think the Primaris Marines are going to be the ones who get taken out of the fluff, but I think they're going to keep the Primaris models, and I think that would be the point where they stop selling the old Marines, because at that point, your Intercessor squad just becomes your tactical squad.
See, I'm on the other side of that. I don't think there's going to be a Civil War. I think it'll build up all the way to the point of a Civil War, and then Azrael will be made into a Primaris Marine. I also see the same with Commander Dante and all of the others that don't accept. It's just like the Codex Astartes all over again.
You might be right in that regard. Now that they've established that you can turn a normal Marine into a Primaris Marine, they might go that way and just turn all Marines into Primaris Marines. And then they again get to merge the model lines.
Mm-hmm. Like, for instance, all they have to do is just come out with a assault squad. Oh, wait, they did. All they have to do is come out with some bikes. Maybe, but all the bikes now are specialty anyway.
Yeah, that's true. It does bring up a really interesting perspective from the rules, though, because when the original Primaris Marines came out, it was clear that there were, like, direct parallels between the original lines and the Primaris Marines. But it kind of breaks down when you get to their other stuff. There's no Primaris, like, Assault Marine. There kind of is, but it doesn't serve the same function. He flies around. There are guys with jump packs fly around with guns, and that's very different. And I'm hyper aware of that one specifically because you know that I like to play jump pack Blood Angels. So that leaves me at an odd spot where I really wonder what the rules are going to be going forward.
Well, why do you think I say that they're just phasing out the tactical Marines?
Right. No, that's probably right.
Because the Primaris Marines lack close combat capabilities. They don't have anything for it aside from Reavers, but those are a joke.
Yeah.
And maybe they're aggressors, but even them, they're better suited to shooting. I mean, anything that they shoot at is going to die. They already replaced the Centurions. In fact, we actually had a discussion about this. How does GW sell the Centurion now that the aggressor is out? Oh, they take the Obliterator and put him in Centurion armor. And now Chaos players, to get more while they wait, are going to buy Centurions.
It's very true. And that also brings up that Obliterators are so good right now. So tons of players are going to do that. Mm-hmm. And I think it's I think it's particularly ingenious because there are going to be a bazillion players across, well, not a bazillion because there aren't that many 40k players, but a lot of people are going to go, oh, I can make my obliterators out of Centurions. And they're going to think it was their idea, but GW knew the whole time that you were going to come to that conclusion when they released the model.
Well, it's like GMing any good game. You have to make your players think that they figured something out.
Well, if I can flip that on its head and simply say that the GM can pretend to know what he's doing all along.
Yes, but in this case, we have a very clear-cut showing of the Centurions being Terminators originally, and people making them out of Terminators, and now they're Centurions. Like, if you actually take the Obliterator, turn him around, and look at his armor, it's Centurion armor. Like, there's actually the Marine inside the Marine, the joke of the Centurion, there. And the Centurion has the same weapon loadout as the Obliterator. In fact, instead of giving Chaos the Centurion, they just went, here you go. You've always had him all along. Don't you feel swell about that?
Do the new Obliterators that came in Shadowspear have different rules?
Yes, they have different rules and different point value, but they are the old models. Like, they are the same name and everything. They just phased out the old line of Obliterators with it.
Fair enough, but they just warp juiced them up.
Yep, and now they're the size of Centurions and they're on bigger bases. They did the same with Abaddon. They made him much bigger. They made him a Primarch, which I actually predicted a very long time ago. In fact, after Vigilus, and you can quote me on this, I think we're going back to Armageddon because we're going to have Orcs v Chaos, and we're going to have the rise of Angron versus Ghazghkull. Now, this is a prediction, mind you, but if they want to push the sales of both of those armies, because they have, with Vigilus, pushed the sales of Genestealer Cult, AdMech, Space Marines, Chaos, very, very, very efficiently, the next book is going to include Chaos of the Demon variety and Orcs. And, you have the few remaining Guard regiments that might still be left on Armageddon, but they're all essentially annihilated at this point. Good job, 8th edition rulebook.
Mope, are you muted?
Anyway, moving back, what do you think about this? Victor, what do you think about this?
What is going on with Discord right now?
Well, we can't have dead air, so I'm just going to continue. So, one of the other big things that I've noticed in 40k is that these short stories are much better than the longer variants because the short stories tend to actually fill those gaps really, really, really quickly. And
yeah, I'm trying to talk for
okay, so sorry about that
minute.
little hiccup. Anyway, Mope, what do you think about my my prediction?
As far as the Armageddon campaign goes, I could see it happening because they want to push Xenos, and I think Orcs are pretty popular. I think it would definitely help sales. You've been talking a lot about a new Ghazghkull model, and I think they could get a lot of sales for Ghazghkull, which is probably why they'll push that way. I don't think any... Well, I guess Angron would come out, probably.
Angron and a Demonkin Codex.
I could definitely see it, since we just saw the Hedonites of Slaanesh launch for Sigmar.
Yeah,
the announcement.
I would actually argue that Fulgrim is probably the next Demon Primarch for Angron.
More than likely. It would be actually kind of cool to get a tag team of both of them.
That would... Is it just me, or would that be really unfair to both Loyalist and just Guilliman in general?
Well, if you're going to bring back one of them, you have to bring back Sanguinius.
Nah, there are enough Loyalist Primarchs alive.
I don't think that Fulgrim... If they do go the Armageddon way, I don't see Fulgrim being a part.
Well, there is a bunch of war zones that are being planned in that little Warhammer community preview, they showed like a lot of different planets. I think Mars was one of them.
Warzone
So-
Mars would actually be very cool because Magnus is actually on Mars right now. No, he's on the
Is
moon
he?
of Terra.
Well, he's locked out of the moon, so he's in the webway.
Yeah, but he could just, Majin Buu his way in.
It does bring up the possibility for new Eldar stuff too.
Yeah.
Eldari.
Asinari.
Yeah. I'm kind of hoping that. So, Mope, you may get your wish in a continuation of a Void Dragon storyline, and if they don't, I will laugh because that means they really, really aren't going to do it if they haven't done it already.
See, you're gonna be totally caught off guard when they totally do throw something in there about like some Ascendant Satan shard being beneath the surface of Mars.
What I am currently hoping for is that Warzone Mars is Adeptus Mechanicus and the Dark Mechanicum.
Warzone Mars would actually be really cool if it was fought on 3 fronts. Necrons, AdMech, and Dark Mechanicum.
Ooh. Who has the least amount of emotions? Tune in and find out.
Oh wow. I can definitely see the Dark Mechanicum though, because we've been seeing all of these demon engines, and GW is definitely trying to emphasize them right now. Especially with the new rules in Shadowspear.
And the Negavolt cultist from Blackstone Fortress. Sounds like a perfect troops choice to me.
That it
That's
does.
true.
No, but think about it. If because in the lore, Necrons have the most inconsistent lore in all of 40k. That's saying something.
I'd argue that the Eldar do to a certain extent too. The War in Heaven is a mess.
Well, yeah, but that includes the Necrons.
I know.
But anyway, moving aside from the mess in heaven, because that's like 8,000 different wars, if they actually use this moment to actually push Trzyn's involvement and actually have him set foot on Mars with his Necrons, and he actually just flat out states to Belisarius Cawl, the Void Dragon called to us.
It would be funny if the Necrons came there just to kill it.
Oh, just to kill it. Actually, yes, because they had their civil war with the Satan, and the Void
Right,
Dragon,
the
for the
Necrons-
most part, escaped.
Yeah, they are not loyal to the Satan anymore.
So it would be cool because the AdMech at this would probably be like, no, you can't do that, I think. And the Dark Mechanicum would try to seize the Void Dragon for their own production means.
Right, so I could see it being a war for, literally a war for the Omnissiah, because everyone's trying to capture.
Let us rise, glorious machine comrades. Sorry, you said seize the means of production.
Oh, wow, I didn't even realize that.
Don't need propaganda when your people don't have free will.
Anyway,
Uh,
jokes aside, it would actually be really cool to see those 3 armies actually fight, and then you could have like an Imperial Guard regiment show up, because I think they finally have rights for their Imperial Guard back. And they desperately need to make new Imperial Guard models. The old ones look silly.
You know, it would be nice. So, you know how I have a problem with the guardswomen you bought at Adepticon.
Mm-hmm.
They have slight boot plate, don't they?
No, not really.
They don't? Okay, maybe I was just looking at it from
No,
a
they're
distance
just-
through a blurry webcam.
They do have a slight breast raise, but it's nothing that's super noticeable. And they're
Oh.
slimmer.
It's not like they frame it out or anything, it's just like there's a little bit more space in the breastplate.
Mhm.
Fair enough.
And it would be cool to actually get some guardswomen from GW. Let's
Yeah,
go.
that would be great.
There is the I forget what the book is called. I think it's like Cadia. It's not Cadia Stands. I don't think it's there is a
Cadia?
No, there's a Cadian Guardswoman who has her own book and a bunch of short stories.
Severina
It's
Rain.
not It's not her. No, it's
Oh,
someone
yeah.
different.
I know who you're talking
It's-
about.
Yeah, it's the ponytail.
Tank Commander girl.
No, it's
Wait.
not even her. There's a lot of female guardswomen coming
Are we
out, and it's
Are we talking about the girl from Space Marine, Mira?
no, not even that. I'm actually going to open up the Black Library website because this is bugging me now.
But it would be actually kind of cool to see a bunch of female commanders and everything come out for, the Guard line, the Titanicus line, the Imperial Knight line. Just have some female princeps would be nice. But I like pushing for more diversity without forcing it on people.
Right. So,
Well,
I do want more female models, but, obviously, we should still have... I still want the male Cadians to be... Then the male Cadians... The Cadians are definitely starting to age right now. I can see it because I own 200 of them, and they are definitely starting to look a little silly.
Well, yeah, I mean, their head is gigantic.
found her.
Yeah.
Her name is Minka Lesk.
Okay, well, yeah, so we have female guardsmen, and it's been established in the fluff that there are female guardsmen. So, I'd love to see the models.
I too, and all they really need is a head option. Really,
No,
Well,
the
I mean-
Cadians need to be completely redone. They look incredibly silly. Their hands are gigantic. Like, if you put their hand wrist to wrist together, it's bigger than their hips.
Ah,
Their head is as big as their chest. Their gun looks silly. And their stances look really, really, really silly. To be honest, they need to redo the entire model line. And I think that's what they're going to go for in the future.
once they get the rights back. But you're talking about the Cadians, but I just have to bring up that the Catachans are so much worse, too.
Oh my god, I'm not even going to start on the Catachans because they really just need to drop that line. Like, altogether, just completely drop it.
No, I don't think so, because if you look the new officer lines that they did back in 5th edition, which is, that's the new stuff for Imperial Guard, but, I'm sorry, Astra Militarum. Going back to then, those new officer kits, they came out with then look really good, and they came out with a Catachan one, and it looks, honestly, I think they look really good. Well, I think they look, go ahead.
For me, I think it boils down to I just don't like the guardsman look. But I see what you're saying. I'm not saying drop it completely, out of production and everything. Drop it, make them better.
They
Yeah.
definitely need an upgrade.
if they were to redo Cadians and Catachans again
And Valhallans.
and Valhalla, actually, if they were to just remake all of them, the most iconic regiments with today's technology and techniques, they would look really good.
I might end up with 400 guardsmen.
That's, send in the next wave.
I just want more guardsmen. I think I'm going to cap out at 3 loyal 32s for my guardsmen.
Ha, that's... I'm surprised to hear that from you.
Well, my guardsman is just going to be barely any actual infantry and mostly air armada.
I could see that. Because
It's going to be air and tank.
I actually started off my guard wanting to be infantry heavy. I'm sometimes 200 isn't even enough.
Yep. I feel you on that one. What is 200 like a battalion?
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
No, but I want an actual air force because the airplanes in 40K look absolutely amazing in my opinion. Aside from the Space Marine ones.
Hey, that Xiphon fighter looks really good. I think GW, that's another case of GW actually listening to the fans there and going, they don't like the space potatoes. Let's change up how Space Marine flyers look.
Yeah.
Quick,
definitely.
to the wind tunnel.
Yeah, trying to make the Rhino into a flying vehicle was never a good idea. That Xiphon looks fantastic, though.
Well,
But
the whole thing-
Mo, the Sisters of Silence have flying rhinos.
No, they have graph rhinos. Those are different.
Yeah, they fly. They're flying rhinos.
if they just extended out the Stormraven, which they did in the if you look at any of the other Stormraven variants, they're longer and they look better. Like, Mo,
Yeah.
you were there with me at Adepticon. You saw the difference between a Stormraven and a Storm Eagle.
Yeah, the Storm Eagle looked much better.
Yeah, like that design actually looks cool because they sleeked it out just a bit and it looks like a helicopter. Where it looks like they got the aspects off on the Stormraven, and it was meant to be sleek looking, but it ended up looking like a potato.
Yeah, the Storm Talon is pretty potato too. It literally looks like they just are like, we're gonna make a flying seat for you and strap guns to it.
How orky. Also, a quick side tangent. If you're hearing noises in my background, I will inform you 'tis a dark and stormy night.
Lame.
But I will also bring up, I think all of this new fluff in regards to Vigilus is, again, they heard the demand for new Chaos stuff, specifically Chaos Primaris. They built up the demand for that themselves, honestly, by not giving it to Chaos. And of course, when I say Chaos Primaris, I mean the new, like, fully sized Chaos models.
Yep.
And then,
Correct.
Hmm?
Correctly sized.
Right. And then they knew Abaddon would sell, but I think that if, like, to go back to the main point, like, I think that if the fans had been begging for something else, then we would have gone in that direction. And it's not because, like, of the story, it's because they're only going to put out models they think are going to sell. And the story will frame around that.
Well, they'll have to write the story beforehand due to, modeling pipelines.
Right, but they're not going to write a story for a model line they don't think is going to sell.
Well, they'll write it either way because they don't know if it's going to sell if they don't make it.
Well, they can do research and listen to the fans, which seems to be the angle they're going for right now.
Yeah,
In that
it's
case-
just called market research. They do the same thing
Well-
with Age of Sigmar.
Well, in that case, we're going to have a Sister of Battle storyline in no time.
We
That's a
have
very good
several.
point.
Yeah, even that.
Like, in the newest Sister of Battle book, they were talking about their tank companies. Well, in all fairness, they're APC companies. And they mentioned the Repressor. Like, just flat out mentioned the Repressor.
Hmm.
And I
That's
didn't
their
think that they
main-
were going to. Because they
Isn't-
were staying strict to the newer lore of them. And they included them. And that's in, what is that in? Wrath and Fire.
Faith and Fire.
Yeah, Faith and Fire. Why is it
Yeah.
in Wrath and Fire? Alright, whatever. Anyway.
I know because I sent it to you.
Oh, wait. Wrath and Fire was the name of the 2-book bundle. Anyway. Not important. And they also have the Bloodied Rose and a few other books which also go more in-depth into 40K's Sororitas lore. Like, for instance, Sororitas are more than likely going to get the Tempest. They're going to get the Landspeeder, and they're probably going to get the Stormraven.
Right. But see, what I think is that it wouldn't be too surprising if in another series of campaign books, we saw Sisters take the forefront for the Imperium.
Mm-hmm. Gathering Storm had them actually win the war. Well, win is a quote-unquote.
So, babe, I'm guessing you haven't listened to Our Martyred Lady yet.
No, not yet. Do not spoil it for me at all in any way, shape, or form.
Do you want to hear the premise?
No, I don't.
She literally just said no.
Like,
That's not a spoiler.
I said no in
That's-
all regards. No, don't talk about it because I am excited about that one because I'm finishing Faith and Fire.
Yeah.
No meh, no spoilers.
Yeah, it's not a spoiler.
Otherwise,
It's a
I'll go
fact.
and watch Avengers Endgame and tell you exactly everything about it.
No, don't do that. Wait until I show up.
There you go. That's what I thought.
Me. You know the premise of Avengers Endgame.
Yeah, it's the scene
Yeah.
where Ant-Man jumps up, never mind.
Don't do that.
I'm not going to.
Unless you spoil that book.
I'm not going to spoil the book.
Okay, then don't talk about it. Yeah. No,
Someone
but
spoiled that up. Anyway, going on.
So, with the new models that have come out, we actually got to see a lot more of Slaanesh, which in 7th edition, a lot of people were actually scared that they were going to phase out Slaanesh, and they actually did in AOS. So it did seem the premise that they were going to phase out Slaanesh in 40k. But instead, the fan outcry for Slaanesh models forced GW's hand, and we got the Inferno Rapturous, new Fiends, and then, on top of all of that, we get a brand new Keeper of Secrets that looks like handsome Squidward.
I am super happy to see that they're not trashing Slaanesh, because there definitely was a point where GW was slowly shoving Slaanesh under the rug. And I felt it, and I got to the point where I was wondering, what do I do in the future with my Slaanesh army? It got to the point where I was like, dang, I'm going to have to start considering what to do. I was ready to start running them as Tzeentch if they did it.
Oof. That'd be an insult to
is-
Slaanesh.
Yeah.
I mean, better than nothing.
Better than Nurgle. Better than Khorne.
yeah.
Yeah.
I forget how long ago it was, but I think when I was on Podcastas, when I was a guest there, I think I made the prediction of Sisters versus Slaanesh. It's looking closer like that.
Honestly, I could definitely see it. Demons have been an easier army to collect thanks to Wrath and... what is it? Wrath and Glory? Wrath and Rapture.
Wrath and Rapture. Wrath and Glory is the new role-playing game.
Which is terrible, and GW already stopped supporting.
Yeah.
I'm actually not sure about that.
Well, we still gotta do a campaign of that, like a one-shot or something in the future.
Yeah, that means I
Yeah.
have to read it and learn the system, and I'm just not looking forward to that. D6
Oh.
hurts my soul.
I bet it's going to be super easy to learn, though. But that aside, I definitely think that there are a lot of fans who would go pretty crazy if they did Slaanesh vs. Sisters, and I think that would get GW to sell both model lines. I definitely will buy both of them.
I mean,
Think
just
how
look at
quickly.
it from this angle. Look at all of the different websites that have popped up, the third-party companies that make models that are all demons. And look at how successful they are. Creaturecaster being one of them. Creaturecaster has some of the best designed models in the entire world.
They're also so affordable. I think that's a big reason GW pushed for the larger Greater Demon, is so that Creaturecaster models would be accommodated for. Because in the current system, a Greater Demon is only on a monstrous creature base, and Creaturecaster models are woefully bigger than that.
What are you talking about? Mine is still on the squared base.
Oh my goodness.
I tore them off of that a long time ago.
It also brings up an interesting issue with Chaos, because I guess this is only an issue for people who play Slaanesh, and I don't think there are a lot of us well, actually there are, surprisingly. But it's, what are we going to do with our old Keepers of Secrets? And I think every other Chaos player has just downgraded theirs to Demon Princes. I think will follow.
Yeah, that seems to be the obvious course of action.
Speaking of Demon Princes, I don't think I've actually heard you two talk about this, but what do you think about the bland-ish Demon Prince with his Herald buddy up top?
Oh my god, I didn't realize that was a demon prince, and I hate it. I'll go on record saying this.
Why?
I hate Torth. What is the Mortal Kombat character? Torthor? Tornthor? I think that's it.
I don't know.
But
I don't know either.
I really dislike it, but at the same time, I like it because of the duality, and I like him because of all the scarring and everything on him, on the one side of him. I think that's absolutely amazing. It's just that I want to see him in person, and I might make some adjustments to him, but more than likely, I'm going to not buy him and just put a smaller demonette on a prince's base.
I actually love him because he's going to give it to you.
Yeah, he is Mr. X.
That's why they came out with him. He's totally Mr. X.
Oh god.
In that regard, I love him.
Do you remember Mr. X Necron from what was the movie we watched together?
Mortal.
Oh yeah,
Immortal Engines.
We just
Going
spoiled
on.
the best part of that movie, by the way. There's a Mr. X Necron.
Yeah,
I don't
he's going to
even
give it to you.
remember his name.
It's not important. You see, there's Thaddeus Valentine, the only important character in that movie, and then there's everyone else.
Yes. Thaddeus Valentine was fantastic. He's the coolest rogue trader ever. Anyway.
Back to it.
Speaking of engines, let's get back on the rails.
You need to
Right.
stop.
Heyo.
No,
But yeah, honestly, I think that's another example with that model. I think GW is kind of responding to the popular trends, and I definitely think that new Demon Prince is Mr. X.
If the interviews that they've been doing on the Voxcast and the the Stormcast, I almost forgot what the name of it was. If the interviews they've been doing are anything to go by, they seem to have very, very long production lines for their models, and I'm not sure if if they were to follow trends, they would be slowpokes.
Yeah, that's fair. You're right. Resident Evil 2 is a pretty new game, so maybe I'm wrong. There's a high chance of it.
Well, a lot of people like to say that it takes 3 years for GW to make a model. Honestly, I don't think so.
Maybe not quite so long. I'm pretty sure it's closer to a year rather than half a year.
To get it in full production, maybe.
I mean, they've been they announced the sisters at a year ago that they were working on them.
Yeah, that's true.
So unless they just have such a schedule set up that they're not working on that, yeah, then I guess maybe it has to do with the fact that they're just completely swamped with work, which is probably good for 40K.
No, that I definitely feel. I'm just excited to see what they actually bring for the sisters when they finally come out. And going based off of the Slaanesh models, they're probably going to look even more amazing than I thought.
Yeah, that's definitely true. They're definitely going to come out with, obviously, they're going to come out with the new standard Bolter Girl. I think they'll probably come out with, like, a new Retributors.
Yep, definitely new Retributors, new Dominions, new we saw the new Seraphim.
Well, did we see the new Seraphim? Then we know they're coming out.
Yeah, well, we've also seen the latest Battle Sister Bulletin just showed off the Deimos pattern Rhino, which is really cool.
Yeah. And can we talk about that?
Yes.
We sure can.
Okay. Victor, this completely supports our argument. The Deimos pattern Rhino is going to be bought by every Space Marine player to play 30K.
Oh, that's so true.
Yeah, because...
Also, GW has been pushing for 30K to be included in 40K and make it easier for people to get into 30K, because now they can buy all of their infantry from GW and then just the specialty tanks from Forge World. And now they have the Rhino, so they just need to sell the bits of the other tanks to include them. So, for instance, all you need is the Scorpius turret, and now you have... Oh my god, they might make it the Scorpius.
The Whirlwind?
Yeah, they might make it the Scorpius. They might make the Exorcist the new Scorpius.
I hope they don't.
I just think the Deimos or Pattern Rhino has the funniest story, both in fluff and out of, or in just addressing it as a model.
What was the in fluff one? I don't think I've read it.
It's just an old pattern of Rhino.
I mean, there you go.
But the model itself, that was the old Rhino, and then they upgraded, and now everyone wants that Rhino again. So they remade it to look more like the old Rhino. It's just funny to me.
And the fact that the old stuff in 40K is the better stuff. So, that's that's art imitating life.
What is time? I'm in the warp.
It's that thing in between, you and reality.
Oh.
So, speaking of Games Workshop schedule for releasing stuff, who I want to know what if you could wish list anything, be it a model or a faction.
Sister of Battle on
Actually,
Bikes.
Sister of Battle on Bike.
Yep.
Speaking of that, did you see that flying thing art piece that had a sister-looking thing that was hovering like a jet bike?
I did not, but if they gave sisters jet bikes, that would be way too cool.
I mean, all they have to do is take Sisters of Battle and give them crotch rockets. Okay? Because, and hear me out on this, the Space Marines have Harley Davidsons, which are the most manly man bike there ever could man. The Gene Stealer Cult have the most effective motorcycles in all of 40k, being the dirt bike. And now the sisters, what is the other style of bike? They need crotch rockets, because the Space Marine has a cruiser, the Gene Stealer Cult has all-terrain. The only thing left is a crotch rocket.
Wow. Crotch rocket sisters would make me so happy.
Think about how gothic that would look.
It would be so cool.
Is it a Vespa?
Babe, you're dumb.
Yeah. No. I'm European.
No, do you know what a ninja is?
No, I'm not.
Oh my god, do I need to actually look up what...
I'm already on it.
Thank you.
Could you grab me a picture, please? Alright, let's move on. People can't see this.
But yeah, if sisters had bikes like that, that would be so cool. If they added some, but I was thinking like Sister of Battle, like hover bikes, like what Sisters of Silence, or they don't have them. I'm sorry, only Custodians have them.
Sisters of Silence have them, and there's really, really, really old artwork that shows Sisters of Battle, Sisters of Silence on jet bikes, which is why in my Custodian army I always run 4 Sisters of Silence on jet bikes, and I just count them as Custodians on Dawn Eagles.
That does make sense. Although I think the stats are a bit inflated there.
In details.
And no, untouchable aura.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's just good.
But if they came out with some new sister model, that would be cool, because they do tend to, like, redo an entire line every few years, so it'd be great if they actually did, like, add new units in addition to revamping it. And if that's their goal, to revamp the line, I don't see any reason why they wouldn't.
Well, I mean, for instance, they could give Sisters of Battle Terminator armor.
Maybe.
No, I mean, Victor, it's really simple. Terminator armor wasn't even meant for Space Marines originally. It had to be revamped for them in the lore.
Well,
so all you'd have to say is, oh, Belisarius opened... Yeah, here you go.
Go ahead, Mo.
I mean, Belisarius Call is a very, very good plot convenience.
You know who else is a really good plot convenience?
Yvraine.
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 You know who can bring back any Primarch just by clapping her hands? Yvraine. You know who could bring back any dead character at any time just to come back and keep fighting and keep the Imperium at bay? Yvraine.
That's how they're going to bring... I think that's how they're going to bring back Sanguinius.
Yeah, they definitely are. Yvraine's going to go into Kimura and just be like, hey, where's that crystal Sanguinius you guys have? Okay, clap on. Hey, look, Sanguinius, go get him.
I will still hold it up to this day that they won't bring Sanguinius back.
I mean, if we are actually going this based on sales, the Blood Angels are the only army that outsells Ultramarines.
So,
I mean, I would buy a new Sanguinius, even though that, like, I didn't like it. I'd be like, I have to get it. It's Sanguinius.
I mean, I'm buying the new Sanguinius off of Forge World.
So I think we actually have found our litmus test for whether lore or sales are more important. If they bring Sanguinius back, then I will have lost and lore takes the back seat. However, if they don't and deliberately will announce that they will not bring him back in 40k, then that is a lore reason to their models.
I won't say that will be conclusive either way, but I definitely will agree that it will support the argument one way or the other.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say this, that if they were to bring Sanguinius back, then I would cry my little writer's heart out, because so much of the core themes of 40k exist because Sanguinius died.
Well,
He died for our sins.
I mean, that's cool, but on a tabletop perspective, I have no idea what those things are. All I know is, how do we one-up Smash Captain? Oh, cool, I have a Sanguinius. Like, legit, you have that holiday, and you have some of the mourning and everything, and you could even stop the chapter from falling to becoming Crimson Gorillas. By the way, that's what happens when you get stuck in the Tower of Lost Souls or whatever for long enough when they opened it up, and the entire chapter is essentially dead at this point, aside from the new Primaris Marines that came in. So it seems like a perfect time to resurrect Sanguinius. I mean, he's Saint Michael after all. You bring back Angron, you bring back Kabanda, you bring back Sanguinius, and guess who just came back? Kabanda. So guess who's coming back?
Back again. Kabanda's back. Tell a friend. I'm done now.
I think that, like, Sanguinius' release, I don't think it's going to happen for a long time, though. I don't think we'd see him with this Armageddon campaign. I don't think we're going to see either him or Fulgrim, if they do come out, for a few years.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. That's where I think they're going to go with it. Like, once the game starts dying down a little bit, they'll release another Primarch.
Right. I honestly think that Fulgrim is going to kill Guilliman. And I think that they're going to... I think he's going to do it again. But I think that they're going to wait a few years for that, and I don't think they're going to do it until the Guilliman model stops selling.
Yeah, that is very true. But at the same time, I don't think they're going to kill Guilliman. They're going to leave the lore stagnant for a couple of years, with just him going back and forth, fighting Abaddon at certain key points.
I think he will kill Abaddon in the end before Fulgrim kills him.
So, I would like to counter the Sanguinius idea with a Primaris Dante.
I don't want Dante to get an updated model because he's so old. He should have an old model. I understand that realistically they probably will give him a Primaris model.
I'm sorry, hang on. I gotta giggle at that. That is phenomenal. I love it. Because he's an old man. He should have a metal model, damn it.
He should have an old, ugly metal model from 1989.
Back in my day, we used to drop our Land Raiders. Can they still do that?
I don't actually know. Don't own any Land Raiders right now.
Does the Codex say anything about it? I'm pretty sure the Codex disapproves, but not the Blood Angels Codex. Ha.
I don't think a Blood Angels Codex said anything about it, even in the old fluff.
No, they just want Deep Striking Land Raider.
Well, yeah, that's what I was. That's what I was talking about. Yeah.
Can you still do it? I don't know off the top of my head, but I'm gonna guess no.
Well, someone reigned to... Wait, was it Matt Ward that wrote that one? I don't think so. Oh, no. Deep Striking Land Raiders.
I'm not sure. I mean, Deep Striking Land Raider does make sense because you did have that Thunderhawk that could just drop them in. So a Deep Striking Land Raider would just be the Thunderhawk flying really close and just dropping it and it hitting the ground.
Yeah.
And depending on the rider, the Land Raider is completely indestructible or blocked by rubble.
Yeah, well, in any case, I would argue that Dante would have to fulfill his damn prophecy and be that golden warrior that he's supposed to be.
I mean, he is. He is the greatest hero of the Imperium.
I think
hang on. Moke just appreciated the Imperium.
She does that from time to time.
I love humanity, okay? I hate the lie he's fighting for, but I love humanity.
Anyway, guys, with that, we are going to wrap up this first podcast. We've been going on for an hour just about. And I want to thank you guys for joining me.
Quick